You are listening to Nerd Best Friends, a podcast that covers the nerdy conversations you're already having, or wish you could. It's the nerdiest thing you'll do this week.
This is Annalise.
This is Rob.
I'm Dr. Intern Joan.
And this is America's favorite teen nerd, Andrew.
And we are your nerd best friends.
Look, up in the sky. It's a nerd. It's a plane. It's the Nerd Best Friends podcast.
Hey nerds, if you're enjoying the show, make sure to follow or subscribe. It's totally free and helps us keep bringing the nerdy fun your way. While you're at it, leave us a rating and a quick review. It only takes a second and it makes a huge difference in helping fellow nerds find us. And if you want even more chaos, behind the scenes moments, and exclusive bonus content, check out our Patreon to access Nerd Best Friends After Dark. It's where the real nerd magic happens. Thanks for listening. And remember, being a nerd isn't just a hobby, it's a lifestyle.
Okay, nerds, it is July. It is at the time of recording, it is opening weekend for the new Superman. We all went and watched it. How's everyone doing?
Well, I'm doing great.
Great time.
I went and saw Superman yesterday and I had an amazing day. Like my day from top to bottom was just like, it was a perfect day in the life of Rob Cooper. I'm feeling so happy. I'm jazzed.
Are you feeling super?
I'm feeling super.
Whoa!
Oh my gosh. You know what I want to say about this weekend? I don't know about you all, and maybe it was because we were going to have fun and record, and this was one of our episodes, which I like recording and all that stuff with y'all. But this feels like it's the first real summer blockbuster that we've had in a long time, pre-COVID long time. I can't think of another film that was like, everyone's going to go get a ticket. You know, social media is weird that everyone tries to get there first. So there was tons of content. Joan, I know you were messaging about like trying to avoid spoilers for a few days because people saw the movie starting on like Tuesday night for previews and all that stuff. But what do you think? It feels like a long time since.
Huge. The hype, money they put into marketing this movie must be like astronomical. I follow, Detective Comics on Instagram. They literally posted 4 or 5 times a day for the last month with little reels and advertisements for this movie. Like every single time I opened my phone, there was something about this movie on it. And you were seeing the billboards and you were seeing the commercials. And of course they did, just like the blockbusters do, they have all the product tie-ins, right? Like you can't watch a Geico commercial without it being about Superman. You can't watch a Doritos commercial without it being about Superman. Like everything is Superman. Like you said, I don't remember what the last one like this was, because there's a Jurassic Park movie out right now with like some good star power in it.
No idea.
Nobody's
Nothing
talking about
it.
that.
Right.
They're talking about Superman.
It was cursed to come out a week before Superman, and it's gone.
Yeah, I remember thinking earlier in the weekend, I'm going to go see a movie. There's an IMAX right across the street, the hotel I'm staying at my conference, and and there's a Jurassic Park. What? What's this F1 movie about racing with Brad Pitt? What? Like everything, it has been shadowed, and I can't think of the last time a movie has done this. Right. I can think of some of these cross promos for like Stranger Things. I remember going to Baskin Robbins to try the 11 ice cream 4 years ago. 5 years ago, long time ago, but I can't think of the last time it's been this.
Yeah, this is definitely, and correct me if you can think of something else, but this is the biggest movie since the pandemic, as far
Absolutely.
I mean, not the Barbie thing.
Yeah, I was going to say Barbie and Oppenheimer were
right.
huge, but neither of them did this.
Was that last summer or was that 2 summers ago?
2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
But what we knew more about was like that they were complete opposite
I think,
styles and out of the same
Superman
time.
Got the same amount, but for one movie instead of
Correct.
2. Like it did it as a standalone thing, as opposed to being a head-to-head double feature.
Right, which people did. Is wild. I remember seeing that on social media.
I remember having a conversation with someone. I remember having a conversation as someone who did not see either of those movies in theaters, but being like, how do you do, what order is that? Do you go Barbie first and then Oppenheimer, or do you do Oppenheimer into Barbie? Like what
did they say?
What emotional roller coaster are you putting yourself on?
That might be a difference about it too, is like everyone knew the memes of Oppenheimer and Barbie, but like on this call alone, who saw both of those movies in theaters?
Nope.
Nobody.
I haven't seen
You know
Oppenheimer.
what I mean? So it's like, it was popular, but like, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to see Superman. And that's interesting because it's fitting because it harkens back to original like, Christopher Reeve's Superman. Like that was a huge blockbuster when it came out. Like that was, you will believe a man can fly. And everyone had to go to that movie at that time and see all of this new crazy wild stuff they were able to do with movie magic for this movie. And I gotta say, like the thing I've been harping on and hyped up with for months now was like the change of tone for this movie. Like I joke about it, like trunks on the outside, but like colors, positive, happy, fun, like a fun comic book movie. Let's go, you know? And so like the last 4 movies that have had Superman in them, like, nobody cares.
You know
But
how long
this one,
talking about trunks on the outside. You know how long it's been since there's been a Superman movie where you can tell his suit is blue
good point.
and not dark gray, purpley.
Oh, that's a good
bush.
point.
Yeah.
It's a baby American blue.
Yep.
You swaddled your child in that blue
Well, because Ma can't made it.
because Ma can't make
We have a lot to talk about with the movie.
Yeah.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
So yes, opening blockbuster weekend. We've all seen the film, and before we get to anything, we have some nerd mail.
Nerd mail.
Our last episode was our summer nerd games trivia, where Rob won the company, and we got some
Maria's
nerd
hard at
mail.
work on our taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the last episode of Nerd Best Friends
You never know.
ever because Rob took over the company.
Yep.
And now we're shut down.
And that's right. And he is incompetent.
Business ethics. Okay, we got some nerd mail based off the trivia all around Captain America, the question about Captain America's shield. So here's the problem. I did a chat GPT asking specifically about the MCU, and your answer, you were able to say it's one and one and one and the other. You got the points for it. We also got 2 pieces of nerd mail that are alternating ideas behind us. So I'm going to read them both. The first one says, in the MCU, it's made of vibranium. In the comics, it's an alloy made from mixing vibranium and adamantium. The second piece of nerd mail says opposite. There is no adamantium in Cap's shield. There are retcons that claim it's proto-adamantium, but it isn't.
What's
Shoot,
proto-adamantium?
You know what? I wish I had known that this terrible question and my horrific performance on it was going to come up again, because we have a definitive source. Back in the 80s, there were books. They were called the official, literally on the cover, official Marvel handbooks. And they are these thick, they're not comic books. They're basically a set of encyclopedias for every character and everything in the Marvel universe. There's probably 8 or 10 of them. They're in a long box, and it's this 18 inches wide of these books, the official Marvel handbooks. The answer is in there. That's where I have to go find it. That will settle it once and for all.
Then no chance that it would change?
Yes, I absolutely believe that it's 100% vibranium in the MCU.
Right.
It is.
Yeah.
It's vibranium and everything.
There's a real answer out there. I need to get
Yeah.
the official encyclopedia.
All I know is that after opening my Instagram app and seeing my father embarrass himself and his family name on the internet live in front of an audience, I was so enraged. I went out to look for answers on my own. And I don't know what it is now, but I found a comic panel that I think is really funny, where it's some scientist, it's like, it's old, it's from like the 60s or whatever, and it's like how Captain America's shield was made. And it's this scientist guy, and he's like, gosh, I need to figure out how to make this cool shield. It's like, I have vibranium, but there's something missing. And then he like leaves and goes home for the night. And when he comes back, it's like the metal has bonded with something else. And now it's a perfect thing. And so I think my answer is Captain America's shield is vibranium, and then you leave it alone for like 24 hours and it becomes magically
Something
whatever
else.
it needs to be.
So there you go, listeners. Thanks for the nerd mail. Captain Shield is whatever you need it to be.
I will find the definitive answer.
Either way, thank you for our listeners for providing personalized sources of information. Every piece of nerd mail is dismantling OpenAI one submission at a time, and I salute you for that.
We have Nerd Best Friends AI. So the second piece of nerd mail, real quick, shared to us by our podcast friends at Major Slayage, aka they are a Buffy podcast.
Maybe the J is like, maybe it was mejor.
Mejor Slayage.
Hi, it's me, Mayor Slayage.
Mayor Slade.
Welcome to Killtown.
Mayor Slade is raising taxes on
Mayor Slade was the actual mayor in Buffy who turned into a giant snake. That's Mayor Slade. Although he didn't. He ate a couple people. We learned that. Armin Shimmerman asked to be ate.
No,
In this case, the folks at Major Slayage shared their fellow love of The Power of Love being their number one karaoke song. But
Nice.
in the clip they sent us, he plugs in the opening verse from Dr. Dre in California Love over the big guitar solo that's in the middle of that song. It is pretty phenomenal, and I want to give a shout out to that. Go check out their TikTok and go find this clip. It is pretty cool. He finishes you feel the power of love, and then he goes right into rapping like Dr. Dre. It's pretty cool.
That's amazing. We'll be
And
checking
now
it out.
stolen. And that's Nerd Mail. So
Ba-da-bump-a-da-bump.
I'm loving
it's time for Talk Nerdy to Me. Okay, so Talk Nerdy to Me today, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about something that we all just did, which is going to the theater. For a long time now, 4 years of this podcast, Rob, you and I talk a lot about how Hollywood needs to make better movies if they want us to go to the movies, right? Like, I think we both love that theater experience and we both hate that theater experience. And as everything gets more expensive, it's more expensive. But I want to know, like, it cost me about $40 for 2 adult tickets in my town, just under. I don't know, and you don't have to share how much you spent on your tickets, but tell me about your theater experience where you saw the film.
I'll go first because mine will be quick and we'll make Dr. Jones's last because it's ridiculous. But it was $69 for 4 tickets. But then, of course, I got to get a bunch of snacks and things. The theater that we go to it's the nicest. I think we talked about this maybe last episode. It's the nicest theater in town, but it's not that great. You can get reserved seating, which I like because I was like refreshing the page every day this week until they had the showtime so I could get those perfect 4 seats that I love right in the front row of the second section with nothing but like the handicap seating area in front of you and nobody ever sits there. So it was perfect in that sense. But like and the people that we were with noticed the projector's going bad. Like when it was showing things like the dark screen or so you could really see it in the credits. When the credits were rolling against like the black and like the white, you could see the left side of the screen was tinted red and the right side of the screen was tinted green because like the bulb is going bad or whatever. It's not what I want it to be.
Where did you go?
The same place you did at Camino Real.
I did not have that problem at all.
Maybe you weren't in theater 2.
I think that feels like a one-off thing.
Yeah.
Because I haven't experienced anything.
So as far as like, we got on time. We got our seats perfectly. The lines weren't too long or anything like that for like, because that's just like, it was fine. But it was just like, I know I'm not seeing this in the best way that I could. And I came here for like one job. Like you had one job to show me an awesome movie. And I could see that your stupid projector is going bad.
But did that affect you while you were watching the movie?
Not me. I didn't really notice, but with the folks that we were with, they were like noticing it, I guess.
I went to the movies. I saw Superman. I thought it was great. I think going to theater is a good thing. And I think I enjoyed it. And I think that Superman is a movie that I saw in theaters and I was like, I didn't even care I was in a theater and that I was sitting next to some dude who I didn't know. I was there and I was in it and I was immersed. I didn't go pee once. I was sad. You could not have pried me out of that seat with a crowbar. I was locked.
You wore adult diapers.
I wore my Superman adult diaper
on the outside
with with pee as yellow as the sun that gives him his powers.
Power of the sun.
I thought it was great. I have no complaints about it being in a theater. I thought it was a great time. I don't feel as though.
But now I'll ask you this: in your young life,
in my young life,
have you ever been to like an IMAX theater where the screen is so big it has to be like curved?
I have not.
Have you ever been to a theater where you're sitting in like leather reclining seats?
No, I have not.
Have you ever been into a theater? And I'm just going to give you a preview. This is where Joan watched the movie.
No, it was better than that.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Okay, so now the theater you went to is disgusting and okay. But no, I mean that's a good point. If you've not seen the other, where you went is just your typical movie theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, there's definitely not. And that's definitely not the point. What I will say is the theater I saw it in, there's one theater in Ukiah. It is a Regal. I appreciate that regardless of what company theater it is. I think all of them now do reserve seating, which I like so much more because same as you, Rob, like I'll go like, I don't want to go to that Showtime. I could have gone yesterday morning, but there were a lot of tickets sold for that and not a lot of good seat choices. So we went this morning and there was like 6 people in the theater at the matinee first show at 10 o'clock in the morning. So that is helpful. So I appreciate that movie theaters are doing the like pre-select seating thing. And I will say the theater here does a really good job. It's obviously not like top of the line or like the picture that you just showed to Andrew. It's not like where I saw The Life of Chuck down in Southern California during the weekend of Hellmouth Con, but for the money, it's really nice digital screen, really nice digital projector. You know, everything's like relatively new upholstery. So you're not sitting in gross seats. So the one theater here does a good job. And that was my theater experience. What about yours, Dr. Intern Jim?
Well, we built it up. So I was on official podcast business, and if I was getting reimbursed, I definitely went all out like I was going to get reimbursed.
Heck yes.
Not under this new management.
Not under the new management. I went to a theater called Studio One. I guess maybe there are other ones in other parts of the country, but they use immersive technologies, they say. 4K pure laser projection, surround sound by Dolby Atmos. I don't even know what any of those words mean, but they played like the sample. You could hear it all around you.
Yeah, that's
I had that.
Right? But so there's 4 theaters in there, and each one looks like a New York loft or a penthouse.
Yeah.
With different country themes. So ours was New York. There's a Paris and other countries. Anyway, they're all sofas and dining room tables, and they serve full meal farm to table. So they advertise.
Gosh.
We went at 11:20. It was so brunch was still on. I had chorizo, huevos rancheros. Jeff had biscuits and gravy.
At a movie.
And then halfway through, they brought us our popcorn, which we didn't gourmet up. There were lots of gourmet options. We were on a nice sofa. There's room for 35 people in that theater, and I think there were maybe 10 people there. So it's good.
Was your couch like a recliner couch because you put your feet up, or is it just a couch?
They had footstools to put your feet up and little like side tables, like a literal living room.
Mm-hmm.
There were some bar tables, and those chairs reclined if you sat at the tables. So they were different, and they reserved it so you could look where you choose the thing ahead of time where you wanted to sit. It was pretty cool.
Man, that's fancy.
I'd do it again.
I would too. I'd do it for the first time.
That's disgusting.
Well, when you go to Portland without me, she could tell you what movie theater it is.
Oh, maybe I could see Fantastic Four in a fancy theater.
You probably
Could be out
could.
still end of August. It might.
In the image I'm looking at right now, there are beds.
They're those big sofa lounge things.
Like if I was watching a movie that I didn't like, I could turn over and take a nap.
Yep.
Absolutely. Or just order more stuff off the menu. It's immersive, interactive.
Immersive, yeah.
Play with my Superman Legos on the bed.
Yeah, you absolutely
Watching your
could.
kids, bro.
Send in your deep thoughts, nerd questions, or talk nerdy to me subjects that you'd like us to cover by sliding into our DMs or send those topics in an email, podcast@nerdbestfriends.com. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's talk Superman.
Let's talk Superman. If you are a big nerd and you didn't get to see this movie opening weekend, but you are like us and like, oh my God, I got to see the Superman movie. It's got all this hype and it's going to be so much fun. And I love comic books and stuff. We will spoil this movie because there are like some really cool things that I absolutely want to talk about that I'm so glad I didn't know going into the movie. So yes, fair warning. We are talking about this movie and analyzing this movie from stem to stern.
Get out, scram.
Okay. You have broken this down into some different conversation topics that we can go through, which I think is great. It will help us focus. But first of all, like, what's the vibe check? I thought this movie was great. I absolutely loved every second of it. Well, I mean, loved is a strong word, but I loved this movie. When I walked out of this movie, I was like, is this my new favorite superhero movie? Do I like it better than Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? I came around, but it's probably second place. What's the vibe check? How'd you find it, Annalise?
I didn't get any spoilers, and probably we're going to say the same couple things of like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this before. And I'm so glad I didn't know. Like that echoed some moments in my head. But the one thing that I have seen on social media that I couldn't avoid is people talking about how this movie was the hope we needed and the tone we needed at the time. It's so hopeful and it is 100%. I kind of miss a little bit of the dark and gritty. And I don't need Superman to be in a gray suit and be all Henry Cavill. I'm going to load up my arms before I punch someone. And that's no disrespect to him. I think he just happened upon a time when scripts weren't being written very well for, DC comic movies. And I actually haven't seen Henry Cavill's Superman movies at all.
Nor do I have any desire to.
The question was, did you like the movie?
So, no, you asked for a vibe check. So I'm giving you a vibe check, not if I like the movie.
Vibe check honestly is a buzzkill.
No, I think it was everything people are describing, but I never really felt like anything was really in danger. Like I miss there being some grit. And I think it starts with grit. And I think that's a really big positive and also where I'm missing the grit. But I can say more.
I mean, that falafel guy definitely did get just shot in the head.
Yeah, I don't agree that the movie.
Yeah, but I really didn't see Lex Luthor being that awful. That was the worst. That was the worst thing he did. He's like, oh, maybe I'll go get Lois Lane. Look, by the time that dude was shot in the movie, there's tons of innocent deaths already. That's just one more to throw on there. Let's real Lex Luthor would have already had Lois Lane.
No.
Would have had Jimmy. Would have had Perry White.
Disagree on that with you, Annalise. I think that might be one of the only deaths in the movie.
Well,
Superman
I mean, with all the
everybody.
Well, that we see.
One at a time.
Yes.
But when there's $20 billion of damage in one event that opens the film.
Sure, but I'm pretty sure Superman saved everybody.
Yeah.
Within our screen, yes.
Well,
no,
that's what's on.
I think the tone of the movie is Superman saved everybody.
Not every single person who died in those
even
buildings
saved
that
the
crashed
squirrel,
over.
Annalise. No lives were lost.
That definitely was not part of their headlines.
My vibe check was it needed to be more serious or it needed to be Guardians. I didn't get a vibe. There was no vibe. It was pretty neutral. I didn't get any hopeful. I got meh out of it, really.
Really? Okay.
Unpopular opinion. I think we're in order of how we felt about the movie on my screen over here.
What'd you think, Angie?
I'm not saying, wait, but there's that word again. I didn't say I didn't like the movie, right? My barometer for whether or not I like a movie is whether I was entertained for 2 hours. For my $18 ticket, I was absolutely entertained. I enjoyed the film. These two guys are calling me a buzzkiller. The reality is I want to feel like there's actual danger, and I never really felt there was actual danger.
And I got bored. So we're in the same boat.
That's my problem. Like, kind of a clown, but I have felt this way when I read the comics. I have felt the comics that I've read, the very few. I have felt this way the very little bit of Superman I've seen. Lex Luthor to me was scarier in Smallville than anything else that I've ever seen, right? And that's not saying a lot. So for me, Lex Luthor wasn't it, and it kind of took me out of it a little bit. Doesn't mean I didn't like the movie.
I think me and Annalise have exact opposite takes. I think I can't think of anything in this movie that disappointed me. Mm-hmm. I can't think of anything in this movie that was below what my expectations were. And I had high expectations for this movie because they like we said, they hyped this movie up a lot.
Right.
They were like, hey, everyone should go see this movie. It's going to be really good. And then I went and saw it and I was like, yeah, this is really good. That's my vibe check. I don't know how much am I allowed to start firing back at Annalise.
Well, it's
I have a mute button, so be careful.
Well, let's talk about.
Well, this is a convince Jonah was good, basically.
Maybe we'll talk about that in the tone.
Possibly, because again, I didn't have any expectations.
Yeah.
So
right, it's a Superman movie.
I jokingly, like all summer, have been like, I'm putting all my hopes in this movie, and I will be devastated if it's not the most perfect movie ever. And kind of tongue in cheek, because nothing's going to live up to those expectations. But like Andrew said, I was not disappointed at all. I thoroughly enjoyed every moment of it. The more I look back on it, and the more I kind of analyze it, the more I'm like, that wasn't great. And that probably wasn't like as cool as it could have been. But it was a real fun movie. And I'll definitely watch it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
you know what's funny? You're usually opposite coming out of movies.
Right.
You're usually like, this was, and then you come around to, oh, that was actually pretty good. So it's really interesting to see you.
That's a
on
good
the other
point.
way.
That is usually my MO. I'll be like with Andrew, be like, is this movie stupid? Like, what is this? Mm-hmm. And then afterwards we'll talk about it. I'm like, you know what? I did love that movie.
It was like that was like the Dungeons and Dragons, like meow, 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 meow. And
Yep.
then as that episode went along, I was like, oh, but then they did this, and then they did this, then they did this. It's interesting to hear you the other way around. But we can go through our list. Vibe check was kind of
That was just impromptu to kind of set the tone. The first thing you have on here is legacy and comparison. What did you want to talk about there?
Just because both of you read more of the comics than I have, you've probably seen more recently the Christopher Reeves or any other Superman besides awful Dean Cain. That's my very small parameters. A little bit of Smallville, all the Lois and Clark from the mid 90s, and a little bit of comics. But so legacy and comparison, tell us more about how this compares to, which you did a little bit already. It's not as dark and gritty as a Henry Cavill movies.
Yeah,
but
I would say that it is more aligned with modern day Superman. And by modern day, I probably mean the last 10 years, 15 years of Superman in the comics. Like there has been a definite divide between what movie Superman has been since
2000 something.
Gosh, for that Brandon Routh movie, right? In the movies and then in the comics, because what a lot of comic readers were saying was like, movie Superman is not what we're looking for in Superman. And it was the opinion that I had as well as some of the writers. Like Mark Waid very famously had this, blog post he wrote about walking out of that Superman movie because it was just this disaster movie and all these people were dying and it wasn't Superman and blah, 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 which really caused that big riff in the community where you had all the like Snyderverse people versus the, purist people, whatever it was. But the comics have been more positive. This movie was influenced heavily by the book All-Star Superman, which I recommend all the time. It's one of my favorite, I think it is my favorite Superman book. And James Gunn was like very much like, that's my favorite Superman book too. And there were little pieces here and there from that book. It's not a retelling of that story. But if you're comparing like that Superman or Super Sons and the things that they're coming out with now for Superman, that's him. He's a little younger, but that's him. That's Superman.
I think that in terms of, I want to save that for characters. What's my take for this part? I think that this movie is part of the thought process that I think went into making this movie is we are going to systematically, not like criticize. It doesn't feel like it's an attack, but it feels like a direct response to not only Henry Cavill, gritty, evil Superman, but every single comic book writer who thinks that he or she is innovating in the genre by going, okay, but what if Superman was evil? Right? Because I think it is a direct response to Henry Cavill. I think it is also a direct response to things like The Boys or Peacemaker, Invincible to some extent, though. I think Invincible does do a lot of innovative stuff within the genre. Point being, it is, I think, a reminder to be like, of the idea that the reason why Superman is interesting is because he is this incredibly powerful alien from another planet, but he is the most human superhero DC has, and he is the most superhero a superhero can ever get, right? He is distilled essence of a good person with incredible powers doing everything they can to save people and doing everything. Like, again, I agree with that. I don't think a single person dies in this movie because we see Superman saving everybody, saving the little girl and saving the squirrel and trying to even be like, well, let's not kill the monster. Let's take it somewhere else where we can study it. Or if we have to try and peacefully euthanize it, like it is taking all of these other ideas and this new kind of push to make the Superman story dark and edgy, and he's the most powerful person, so he doesn't have to follow any of your rules, and being like, it's missing the point.
Like, Injustice Superman is interesting because it's a new and different and opposite take on Superman.
Right.
If everything is Injustice Superman, well, that's not Superman anymore. And it makes that less interesting to explore.
But is that what was happening in the comics, or was that what was happening in like the Henry Cavill movies?
Not necessarily not in mainline DC comics. I'm talking more like offshoots and like things like The Boys and Invincible that aren't specifically DC stuff. But also, I think there are also like definitely like DC Elseworlds books that's all about this is Superman bad.
Right. I guess there was a big turning point when, I'm so bad at names, the writer who wrote Superman, and he went from Marvel. He wrote Ultimate Spider-Man, and he was this big Marvel guy.
Brian Michael Bendis.
Brian Michael Bendis. When Brian Michael Bendis moved from Marvel to DC and took over Action Comics and Superman comics, that was where they were like, this is going to be our Superman. This is like, we're turning the page to make comic Superman, bright colors, smile on his face, saves everybody, is the Superman, that they wanted. And it's also the Superman I want. Of course, there's all these other takes like Andrew was talking about. There's Injustice and there's all these little offshoots. And then there's the movie universe that was very dark. So comparison wise, this was Mark Waid, Brian Michael Bendis, Frank Quitely, Grant Morrison, Superman. Not Snyderverse Superman.
I made the comment earlier. I will say part of the legacy of this film is exactly what you two were just saying. It's moving us back to more of an origin of Superman and really studying who he is as he's discovering who he is as an adult, right? We're not seeing him as a teenager like Smallville. We're not seeing him as becoming Superman in Lois and Clark. And then that happens throughout the films, depending on whether or not they talked about the origin story. This is Superman, who is an enforcer and well-known and a public figure, now struggling a little bit with who he is with his own origin story as he's discovering himself without explaining it to us, the audience, which is a really interesting place to be. And it really lends to what you two are saying. It's getting us back to what we knew Superman to be. In the middle of all this, because many things in our world right now are divisive, just because of the nature of how our world is right now, it was really interesting to hear the word woke being described with Superman, people angry that they changed the tagline from the American way to whatever the tagline is for the movie. There were people super unhappy and in that calling Superman an illegal alien, they felt was very purposeful, and it was by James Gunn. And Dean Cain was one of those going, he's not an immigrant, and people railing on him saying, you played Superman, you don't understand who this character is. Was really interesting to see in the social media that I was trying to avoid, but inevitably caught a little bit of.
Yeah.
So in terms of the comparison,
I think it's a good take. It is a character study on Superman more than it is like, oh, this is a new Superman #1. It's not really. It's like, we already know who Superman is. We don't need to. And you get plenty of that. Like,
you do.
It hits all of the things that you already know about Superman and reinforces the things that you might have questions about without doing the whole origin story. And I love this might be from in the Easter egg section, but like there isn't like this movie starts almost like it starts in media res, but in that book that I was talking about, All-Star Superman, they do the origin story of Superman in 4 panels with 2 words on each panel. It's beautiful. You open that book, it says doomed planet, desperate scientists, new home, kind couple. And it just it shows the planet, it shows the rocket ship, it shows Earth is floating in space, and it shows like Bob Podkett, like from a POV perspective. And you're like, oh, yep, I know everything I need to know about Superman to reinforce what I want. The movie, same thing, like in almost that same style, right? That kind of nod to it. 3 centuries ago, 3 years ago, 3 months ago, 3 minutes ago. And then boom, I know everything I need to know about what's going on. It was a very good comic book way to get us right into the movie.
Well, and regardless of whether or not the intention from here on out is to reboot the franchise, which typically what movie studios want is if this makes money, we're going to make more. This didn't come off like here's the origin story, here's a little bit of conflict, and then the S shines through at the end of the movie and we're waiting for Superman 2, right? This was very clear that this was not that. So if a franchise and more films are born of this one, it will continue to tell these stories versus, okay, now the next one is going to end super dark, just like Empire Strikes Back. Like it's very clearly not written like we're going to get a sequel right away.
Yeah. I think it seems like we're going in a, and I might be totally wrong in this because I have not seen Fantastic Four yet because it is not out, but it seems like
it's coming out this weekend that this podcast airs. It's coming out now.
Well, maybe by when this podcast is airs,
you'll have seen it, yes,
to go see it. But I think that there is this kind of shift, definitely in Superman, and from what I've seen in like trailers of Fantastic Four, which could be different, but this new movement of like letting superheroes be established in a world already and using that as the jumping off point to then tell a story. If this movie was like a 2010s MCU movie, it would be like, this is Superman, and he's like I have my powers. What am I going to do? And he's trying to figure it out. And then he goes over to Jimmy Olsen and he's like, Jimmy, I need a costume. And Jimmy holds up a spandex and he goes, really? Spandex? And it's like, it feels like there's this new idea of like letting superheroes be superheroes and not having to and something this movie definitely doesn't do, but which a lot of superhero media in the past 20 years has done, is try and distance itself as much from the comics as possible and being like,
right,
comics are dumb and comics are stupid, and can you imagine wearing bright colors on your suit, and comics are trash and I'm going to wipe my butt with them. They're awful and for kids. And if you like them, you're stupid, which is such a funny way of marketing, of talking to your target audience, which is all people who love comic books. And it's just like, if you don't want me to be here, man, like, I won't. If you
It's
think
really
I suck,
funny.
I won't see your movie.
and
It's really
haven't been.
funny.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't been going to theaters to see the DC movies because that's been the attitude. It's like, we're
Well, they
taking
haven't-
everything
they
you
haven't been
know
good.
about these people and changing them. And it's like, well, then why would I like it?
Well, they also haven't been written well, and they just haven't been great films. And that doesn't. When the MCU was really rolling, you were excited to see every film because the way they were connected and the way they were doing that. DC's never hit that. But I will say, for hearing you say that, Andrew, it's really interesting because about 35 years ago, it's the same conversation, right? You had these really campy versions of Batman and other superheroes on television and stuff, and then you get the Michael Keaton Batman in '89. And it was dark and it was gritty and he was moody, and it made all this money that they reeled off a bunch of superhero movies in the early 90s that were dark and gritty. And instead of whether or not the costume was blue, it was like, oh my gosh, there's nipples on Batman's costume. Like, who would put, like, it was all this stuff in the early 90s. And then the same thing, they're like, we're done with the dark and gritty. Let's make a comic book movie. But even though it's my favorite Batman movie, they did it horribly, and it killed the DC universe from that point out, because they owned superhero movies and they made them dark and gritty and opposite of the comics. And I guess Batman's darker anyway, so that's a bit easier to do. You know, Bruce Wayne himself was not a redeemable person in these dark and gritty movies. He was kind of a jerk. And then they flipped it around and tried to make the more comic book like movies, but they went campy. So they went all the way to the opposite side. And then we didn't get a lot of superhero movies for a very long time after that.
Yep. Until Iron Man changed everything again.
Yep. And so this one had to be successful in that non-campy way. And I think it did a fine balance of not going all the way there.
I mean, it's silly. I'll just go back to the thing about the origin stories as well. We get a bunch of characters. We get a bunch of DC characters in this movie, and they don't really spend any time introducing them. Like, there's one line of Guy Gardner, like, I'm a Green Lantern and I was assigned to this planet. Like, cool. Hot girl, don't care.
Mr. Terrific, nothing.
Mr. Terrific, you can figure it out. He's a science gadget guy. Metamorpho, like, boom, he can turn into different elements.
Glorious King Metamorpho.
My favorite part of the movie was Metamorpho showing up. That was the
Yeah,
thing
but
where
for
I was
those of
like,
us that didn't know that, he was just a weird dude.
so
There were
that
a
is
lot
the
of
thing
people.
that I'm so glad I was not spoiled on. Was when I saw Metamorpho show up, I was the mind blown emoji at that point. My grin was to my ears, like, it's Metamorpho!
Look, it's some dude that can make kryptonite on his hand.
Cause nobody knows who Metamorpho is.
Apparently nobody but you two nerds.
Well, the nerds do. And I think that's why it was so cool. Like, one of the first comics I had when I was a kid and I was like collecting random comics, whatever, would come up while I was at the store and my mom would buy me one, was Batman and the Outsiders. And like, nobody, like, you probably have never even heard of that title. It was
I've
Batman.
heard of
and
the
like,
Outsiders, and I've heard of Batman.
And it was Batman and Dali
And Pony Boy.
and Tulsa.
No,
and
no,
they
no,
were
no, no.
fighting the Socs. And
Yeah, down with the Socs. That's Bruce Wayne's origin story.
It was,
was
it
a
was
Soc.
Batman and it was Katana and Metamorpho and just so cool. And like, I haven't thought about Metamorpho in 30 years. There he was. And it's very similar to like what James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Like, nobody was talking about Drax the Destroyer and Star-Lord and stuff. And he's like, no, I'm going to just bring in these people that are going to make you smile. And he sure did that as well.
But that's another interesting conversation, is that Guardians of the Galaxy is a very successful superhero movie. And I think it's a very good superhero movie. But it's a superhero movie that has nothing to do with any Guardians of the Galaxy comic book at that time.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because-
it was its own thing.
Right. And then what it ended up happening was James Gunn's interpretation. He was like, I'm going to take all these guys that no one cares about and I'm going to make my movie about them. And then everyone liked it so much that any pre-James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy comic book is unrecognizable now. Because as what always happens when a comic book movie comes out is that the comic books have to some extent, follow for brand synergy, right? So now it's like, okay, now Star-Lord has his red leather jacket and he has his mask and he's got like brown hair instead of blonde hair and Drax looks like this now. And here's a funny thing. This is a crazy tangent. When I was a kid, I watched the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show. And the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show had a ton of team-ups. And there are 2 episodes of the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show where the Guardians of the Galaxy show up. The first one was before the movie, and the second one was after. And it's completely different. Like, Rocket Raccoon is British in the first one. It's like, Rocket Raccoon, he's talking like this, and I've got a big gun, you wanker. And then Star-Lord is like, my name is Star-Lord, protector of the universe.
And then the movie came out.
And then the movie came out, and it's all exactly like the thing. And Bradley Cooper might even be doing the Rocket Raccoon voice. Or if not, it's a guy who was told to do a Bradley Cooper impression.
Back to...
Speaking of Bradley Cooper, wasn't it cool? I didn't know he had a cameo in this film.
And he was in that movie.
Yep. And guess what? He was in this movie.
I didn't recognize him. I had to look at who he was.
Back to tone and style and vibe. Like, if you had told me 2 months ago that there was going to be this superhero movie and they're going to use a Deus Ex Machina like 4 times and it's always the same Deus Ex Machina and it's a CGI fluffy dog that jumps around and looks cute, I would have told you that's dumb and that sounds like a really crappy movie. But here we are. Crypto's the most lovable thing in America right now.
I thought you were leading me into another never-ending story, Swamp of Despair, because when he was getting abused, I was like, great, here's another animal that's going to give me nightmares for the rest of my life.
You thought Lex Luthor was going to play Russian roulette and shoot Crypto in the head?
So much abuse.
They learned from Artax's death, Joan. They can never do it again.
Yeah, they better.
Put the dog in danger, but don't actually hurt the dog. All right. Well, you started talking about characters, Rob. Let's talk about characters.
Let's talk about characters. I think David Cornsweet is a good Superman. I think he's got the look. I like that in this take, he acted the same purposefully. Like, there really isn't a difference between Superman and Clark Kent. They're the same guy. They didn't spend a lot of time showing him like at the Daily Planet trying to act like something else. He's just who he is.
Can I do my take?
Yeah.
This is where me and Annalise are going to square up.
Oh, good. Were you talking about Lex Luthor?
Yes.
Let's go.
I think Lex Luthor in 2025 Superman might be the most comic accurate portrayal of a comic book character we have ever gotten in film ever. And that is my true, honest take. And I think that
Put it away.
I think he was perfect. Why? Because to perfectly understand Lex Luthor is to say Lex Luthor hates Superman so much that he cries. Lex Luthor has such hatred for one guy and is preying on his downfall so much that when he loses, he gets so mad that he cries.
So that's an interesting take. Let's explore that a little more because both your mom and listener Juliana hated that part. They were like, ruined Lex Luthor for me that he cried. He shouldn't have cried. Why?
Well, it's an interesting thing that we're raised to believe that men shouldn't cry, but I understand being so angry that tears come down. Like, I understand that part. That doesn't make him a good villain. Like, Andrew, you're telling me I don't need to read the comics because I don't find him interesting. He's a little tech nerd weasel with a lot of money and a lot of power, and he's using that tech to try to beat Superman because he hates him. That's not interesting.
Like villains in the real world, Annalise.
I know, but I came to see a Superman movie.
And he was basically just playing a gigantic video game with his minions carrying it out for him. And I'm like, what? That's not even, like, I don't care about that
weak.
at all.
It was weak. He needed a big army of people. Like, obviously, he's Superman. He needs a big army of people. Like, I get all the analogies there. But, like, I mean, coming from you, Rob, you're the dude. Your favorite part of D&D is the monsters. I want more monsters. I don't need a little cute guy that comes out of a thing and then turns 17 feet tall. Like, give me someone to fear.
So that's
Nate
right
is
out of
someone to fear.
That's right out of All-Star Superman too. Is that?
Yeah, I
monster
know. I
like,
totally get
like,
it. It's a comic book movie, right? But
cool,
this is my flaw with Lex Luthor.
So you would have rather seen Lex Luthor at the end, like get into a big green and purple Lex Luthor suit and stomp around and beat him up?
No, I would have rather him gotten away with it and be ticked off that he got away with it and who knows what danger he's going to think up next.
I don't think
Right? That's the only thing that makes him dangerous, is that he doesn't get caught. And that's the most frustrating thing in the Lex Luthors I've seen. He keeps getting away with it. He keeps getting away with it and he keeps failing. And that continues to fuel his anger to do more and do more and do more. This guy was a little weasel who got caught right away. He just wasn't that interesting
goes
to me.
to your, I think that goes to your tone and style question as well. There's no way that this movie was not gonna have a happy ending with things wrapped up so that it could be standalone. And I think that's great too. Like there's definitely nods to, of course, like this being successful and getting a franchise, right? They make sure to say, oh, Lex Luthor's going to Belle Reve prison because like that's where the Suicide Squad is, right? So like we're definitely going to see that shot from All-Star Superman with Lex Luthor in the orange jumpsuit and Clark Kent interviewing him and stuff. And it's going to be perfect. Same thing with the Hall of Justice, right? There's this interior of the Hall of Justice and it's completely empty except for like those three people. In the next movie, it's going to be about Superman making a bunch of friends and like that place is going to be full and just teeming with, you know, all the different superheroes. You'd be like, oh, it's that guy. Oh, it's that guy. Oh, it's that guy. Look, Detective Chimp is in there. Like whatever it's going to be. Like there's those kinds of things that are set up, but I appreciated that this is a standalone movie. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end. The bad guy is bad. He has a secret plot and he gets defeated and sent to jail at the end. Like, I like it.
What do you got,
Dr.
Jim?
Jones, you wanted the billionaire to go do work and get his hands dirty?
I did. I mean, he did get beat up at the end a little bit. I just feel like there's just, I don't know how to explain it. Annalise said everything perfectly. I want him to be
Perfectly.
exactly perfectly. Yeah. I wanted him to be a little more subversive and not as obvious and more conniving, I suppose, instead of relying on that team of people. I just felt like there were too many people.
I think that final scene of him is more powerful if he's not so embedded in it from the onset. If he doesn't come off as this little tech weenie guy, that ending where he's throwing punches while he's yelling at the codes would have been way more powerful. I just didn't buy him as a villain, and it just made it unexciting for me because he's going to get caught. He's going to get defeated. Like it was very clear, that arc to me really early on, because he's such a weenie.
And I liked the actor a lot in other things that he's done, but it went more white guy having a temper tantrum than it did villain doing his thing.
Well, that's a take. I mean, if I'm going to look at Lex Luthor in movies these last 10 years, if I'm going to even go back to like a Gene Hackman Lex Luthor, like I'm going to say this was a great Lex Luthor.
And he might be,
And
right? We're not
think
comparing him. We're just talking about characters.
I think the reason why I like him a lot is that I think that he's a big dumb weenie. I think that's the point. I think the point is that he hates Superman more than anything in the world, and there is nothing he will not do to destroy Superman. And I think
That's clear.
I think that comes across a lot. The fact that Lex Luthor both starts a overseas war and also kidnaps a random guy off the street who has had 2 conversations with Superman and shoots him in the head in front of him, all because he has this vision in his head of what he thinks Superman is and what he thinks Superman stands for, because he doesn't know Superman. Right? This is not Smallville where he's grown up with Clark Kent.
Right.
He has no idea who this is, but he has such a vision and such a mythology around one man that he is willing to do whatever it takes to prove that his philosophy is correct.
I mean, in theory, that could be someone very scary. In actuality, for someone who doesn't read the comics, I never felt that there was any true danger.
I disagree.
I
disagree.
all.
Just, I mean, he started
until
wars.
he got to a point of no return. He only goes and gets that falafel guy because he has no other, like, he doesn't want to do things that dark as how it came off. He doesn't want to be that much of a bad guy. He just wants to end Superman, and he'll do very evil things to do so. But he turns a point in that corner and he immediately regrets it. It's like, oh, maybe I'll go get Lois Lane or the reporter girl. Like, he doesn't even know her name. He's so obsessed with Superman, he doesn't know who Lois Lane is.
Yeah, because
that scene is even better because what he says is, I'm going to go get that reporter you're always talking to. Find me Clark Kent. That's the brilliance of that scene.
That's funny.
I mean, that's part of it too, because he's an idiot. He's a weenie.
What was I going to say?
He's a weenie.
No, I had something.
Yeah, he's
like a spoiled Chad.
Yes, on that we could agree. I think we're just agreeing that we like it and you don't.
But again, it's not binary. It's not like or don't like. There was plenty to like about this movie. I didn't buy him as a villain. I hardly ever buy Lex Luthor as a villain, even in the very few comic books I read.
I had a thing.
That being said,
other
characters.
I need to remember.
Well, as you remember, let me tell you, Nathan Fillion with a bad wig making jokes about being a hammer was the highlight of this film.
That was Josh's immediate take to it. He's like, well, we got Captain Hammer back. It's like he's absolutely Captain Hammer in this movie.
Yes,
Perfect.
it's amazing. You could put them side by side. They are the same character.
Mm-hmm.
I only liked the middle finger blowing up those cars. That is the only part of that character
awesome.
that I liked. My husband said
the
it
whole
was
thing.
Guy Gardner down to the whatever. Like, my husband was very into it because Green Lantern's his favorite.
Yo,
I didn't
wonderful.
like it at all. I did not like that
great
character.
because I think that's you. That's like, I think this is the first time we've seen Guy Gardner in any kind of live action anything. And so absolutely nailed it. Established because he's Nathan Fillion. Like, now everybody knows, wow, Guy Gardner, Green Lantern. What is this? Like, tell
Is
me
that
more.
not Ryan Reynolds? Green Lantern was not
No,
the same guy?
No, that was Hal Jordan.
It's a
The
different-
the Green Lantern
okay.
you see most is Hal Jordan, like the Air
Got it.
Force pilot or whatever who finds the ring. And then in the cartoons, remember it was Jon Stewart. That was like the black guy. And then in the 2000s, it was Kyle Rayner, who was like the cartoonist guy. But Guy Gardner was like old school, like red sweater, green chonies, like guy from who knows when.
Yeah, Joan, I agree with you. I don't like Guy Gardner at all. I hate him. I think he sucks. I think he's lame. I think that his role in the movie was 10 out of 10 perfect, no notes.
Mhm.
I think the fact that I came out of that movie going, dang, I really hate that Guy Gardner guy is perfect. I think Guy Gardner sucks.
Yep.
And I think he was portrayed perfectly in this film.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
Ultraman. Ultraman was a thing that was completely different characterization.
All gray puffy
So-
suit guy, right?
The what?
The all gray puffy suit guy that did the
Yeah,
clone
that turned out to
guy?
be the clone in the end. In the
Well, that
Ultraman
wasn't
we
just a
know,
random clone guy in a suit.
No, that was Superman. He cloned him.
He cloned Superman.
Yeah.
And he's
With a
wearing a
piece
gray
of
suit.
hair.
and he called him Ultraman.
And that's how they got into the Fortress of Solitude, which I think is
Right.
bullshit because it should detect strangers and not let anybody else in that's weird.
Well,
Obviously,
he
alien
doesn't have
tech
a
is
boa
not
thing.
fantastic.
Yeah, he takes people there.
It's different when he takes them, but strangers just walked in. It's not like an Airbnb. Anyone gets in. Anyway, keep going.
Poor
Honestly,
Greg.
did you not know that was a clone of Superman?
Now, I knew it was a clone, but I didn't hear would you call him Ultraman?
Yeah, they call him Ultraman a couple times. And Ultraman
Yeah, I missed it.
that we know is Superman from an alternate dimension, right? Where it's one of those like multiverse stories where the Justice League is bad and you've got Ultraman and you've got, I think Batman is like Owlman or something.
Yeah.
And like, they're all just a little bit different. It's like the Dark Mirror universe of Star Trek when everybody shows up and has a goatee. In that one, it's like evil Justice League and they're all just like a little bit different. And so Ultraman is evil Superman from the evil Mirror universe. But in this one, it was a clone Superman that Lex Luthor made, which brings up all kinds of like weird loose ends that were not tied up.
Yeah, that was very strange as well. I will say that wig is so bad when he pulled off the mask or whatever.
The wig.
That wig was so bad, it made me think it was Anakin Skywalker for a hot second. I'm like, is that a
love the wig.
hologram
I
of
didn't
what's
even
his
really
face
notice
playing
it.
Anakin Skywalker? And then they did a close up. I'm like, oh no, that's him in a wig.
I love the wig. It is ripped straight out of these comics Superman with a black Superman suit and a huge mullet.
Yes, it is. You're right.
It's Superman with a mullet, and I think it's wonderful.
You're right.
Or Anakin Skywalker in episode
really
2.
Catch me. Like now that you say he was wearing a wig, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of how you could tell him apart because he had longer hair. But now to hear you say it, like it is, it's 90s Superman hair.
It was an evil Superman clone in a dark costume who didn't have any morals, and that was the bad guy of the movie.
How about that?
My story with Ultraman, my story with the clone
Mhm.
Ultraman is that what's my story with the clone Ultraman? It was like, so I watched this movie with my girlfriend, and while there,
Who was a clone of...
Whoa,
Oh, sorry.
brag about it.
yeah, suck it, nerds. I'm better than all of you. Hey, Daniel, watching this, caller. My point is, I watched this with my girlfriend, and they have some kind of line where it's like, he's just as powerful as Superman. And my girlfriend turns to me and she goes, do you think it's Khan? And I go, Khan? What do you mean? And she goes, do you think it's Connor Kent, the clone of Superman and Lex Luthor?
snaps!
And I go, no,
No.
don't be. Why would they bring Connor Kent, the clone of That's ridiculous. What are you talking about? And then
And your answer
I
wasn't,
got my
we're
ass
in a
beat.
movie.
It was absolutely a clone. And another friend of ours talked about it, and they're like, no, it's not. It's not Connor Kent. That's actually Mesh or Meld or some other crazy thing. But it's like, but that was the fun conversation where I was like, there's no way it's gonna be like this crazy character that's never been in a movie before. And
Sure enough,
there
you were. What was his partner's name? Was the engineer?
yes.
I am not
Engineer.
familiar with that character or that villain.
Is that a comic character or did they
It
make her up for the
reminded
movie?
me of
I don't know.
Jade.
It
She
I
reminded
don't
me
know.
of Jade a lot.
Jade from Masks?
Yes, because right, Jade could make whatever technology that her brain could think up.
Sure.
Right now, I didn't do like saws for hands or anything like that, but that's what she reminded me of as she was thinking through ways. You could see, like, the actress did a great job. You could see her thinking through what she's going to form herself to be before she does it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so you don't have any information about that character either?
I thought that they made her up for the movie.
It's
okay.
possible.
I had no.
Well, listeners, write in if you know about the engineer. There was another Mr. Terrific was in this movie a lot.
He was.
He definitely took over. Like, he was the Rocket Raccoon of this one. In this one, Rocket Raccoon is Mr. Terrific.
In what
Well,
sense?
it was good as he was the one of the three of them that really was listening to Lois Lane and could see where the dots connected. So that was cool to see too. I want to talk about the Daily Planet group.
Sure.
Because the world I live in, the show Lois and Clark lived in the Daily Planet a lot. So I wanted more Perry White. I really appreciate the gentleman that plays him. He's a really great actor, and I've seen him in a lot of stuff. I would have loved to see more of him. I thought Lois Lane was underutilized. I think they wrote her very well, which could have spoke to a lot more in the film. Jimmy was weird. And I think it was just weird.
Him.
Yeah,
I think- well,
Jimmy too.
I think it was weird. Well, I don't know how it is in the comics, obviously, but anything I've seen Jimmy and he's a dweeb, right? And no way would any of the Jimmys I've seen in the past be like this uber ladies man who gets all the attention.
Wait, sorry, Annalise, sorry. I need to interrupt you. Because I need to be. I gotta make sure we hit this. The joke about Jimmy Olsen getting a lot of ladies. You know that's because he's gay, right?
Not the point.
But he's not.
That's the joke.
But the joke is he's not an
Yes.
uber lady killer.
Yes, but again, what I'm talking about is any other Jimmys that I've seen wouldn't have that magnetism either way.
Sure. In the
Right.
comic this is modeled after,
Correct.
All-Star Superbad, that was a take that they made in that comic. So that is where that comes from. But you're right. He's supposed to be like the nerdy kid who idolizes Superman, right? That's the
Right.
Jimmy Olsen that you're looking for.
And it was hard to see him, the character, in that way. And it was hard to see this particular actor because I've seen a ton of stuff with him as a little kid in it.
Sure.
So I see his little kid face trying to play adult Jimmy Olsen, and I couldn't get there.
Something you should know, because I think you had mentioned like it's been a really long time, or maybe you never saw the original Superman movie with
It's
Christopher
been a long
Reeves.
time. Yeah.
So in those movies, Lex Luthor, Gene Hackman always had like some bimbo hanging around wherever he went. And it was just like bad 70s, 80s thing.
yes.
So that was like kind of an Easter egg for this movie is like, we see Lex Luthor in his big fancy mansion and he's wearing his suit and he's got all his guys and there's like some chick taking selfies. And then it was like, oh, that's just like in the other movies. They brought that back. But then for that to be a plot point at the end was like a fantastic turn for me.
I think it was a good call to the pop culture we have now. That
Uh-huh.
she's taking all these selfies. She wasn't doing it to be a mastermind, but realized what she had and could use it against him as she was getting more and more bitter. It was also different than other Lex Luthors I've seen because you're right. Even the Lex Luthor in Lois and Clark always had a different woman on his arm until he started trying to court Lois, right? And that's different than this one that he has what seems to be some sort of length of time relationship with this woman who's juxtaposed in her bright pink and
Right.
loud to their black and taking pictures
Sure.
and selfies everywhere. I thought that was a really smart nod, but then also that she's in love with Jimmy.
Is hilarious.
Is so
What?
funny.
It's
I loved it.
really funny.
Because I think that's part of what I think that strengthens the characterization of Lex Luthor and the lengths he goes to make himself feel powerful. And I think that makes it clear that part of this fantasy that he has of this powerful man that he wants to be comes with having the beautiful woman by his side. And he gets thwarted by Jimmy Olsen, which adds more to that turn. So I took your point, Annalise, about how you didn't like Jimmy Olsen and made it about how Lex Luthor's cool because I'm winning.
Well, I didn't say I didn't like Jimmy Olsen. I just don't buy him as a ladies' man. I had trouble with it, not because of the character, but because of who played him.
Okay.
Right. I saw his little kid face everywhere. And it's like, wait, no, this guy's not. What? And to that point, you're just making my point stronger. You know, this little turfy dweeb dude needs the hot chick next to him who ends up being, he's not a scary villain. He's a jerk.
You don't think it's scary that you can have the most useless, weaselly, scheming guy who can't do anything on his own? You don't think it's a scary concept to have that kind of person run the world?
I mean, that's not the question that I'm being asked of Lex Luthor. He doesn't want to run the world.
That's what makes him a scary villain.
He doesn't want to run the world. He wants to kill Superman.
But he does. That's
why he wants to kill Superman.
He gets away
and he gets
with
it his own way. It's not scary. He gets caught. It's not scary. There's plenty of people like him in the world.
Yeah.
They're not scary because ultimately we're led to believe that good will always prevail over evil.
That's true.
That's what Superman's about, right? If we're going to go truth, justice, and the kind way being punk rock, which I love is a quote by James Gunn, by the way. If you haven't seen it, there's a piece of script in here about maybe being punk rock means being like the kindest person you can be is the new punk rock. Really awesome quote that he brings out and all this controversy that's divisive.
Like the thing to be counterculture is to be a nice, decent human being.
Yep.
That's what Lois says. Yep. Like, she's like, it's like you see every single person as the best and most beautiful version of themselves. It's like, maybe that's the real punk rock.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And that's woke.
And that is woke.
And that's woke now. And you can't.
That's what they're saying. This is a woke Superman calling him an illegal immigrant. Illegal alien.
In the camera and saying, I think that no one should die. And I think that people dying is bad and we should help as many people as possible from dying. That shit woke, bro. You can't say that.
Spoiler alert. Comics have always been woke. Comics have always been political and comics have always been subversive and speak truth to power.
Stan Lee's first job was making propaganda art for the U.S. military during World War II.
Yep.
That's how he got his start.
You don't think that colored his views?
Maybe a little bit. Anything else about characters?
I have a question about the Daily Planet. Who were those other two people in the little space pod that I was also supposed to care about that they saved?
Oh, yes. Cat Grant was there, which was great.
Awesome. Yeah.
Gave almost very little screen time to Cat Grant, but it's one of those things like, well, if you know who Cat Grant is, you know who Cat Grant is, and she's there too. And then Lombard was there and just being him like that. In forever, Lombard has always been like, he's the sports reporter, so he's like the jock who would pick on nerdy Clark Kent in the office, right? Because a lot of stories would spend time in the office and be like, we're going to inject a little, office humor into your superhero book. And so there was this dynamic with that group. Probably spent a lot of time on that with Lois and Clark, right? Because they spent a lot of time at the Daily Planet.
So the sport guy wasn't a big character. It kind of, I think it fizzled in the first season, but Kat definitely was.
Right.
And she's just kind of who she is. Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to say it. She's there and she's like the style columnist or something like that.
Yeah.
And she's very prominent in Lois and Clark, but the sports writer guy is not. But it makes sense that you have someone who's jockish, who Clark lets tease him and make fun of him to make him look like a mild-mannered reporter.
Exactly.
Any other characters? Joan, you have anything else?
Well, there were just too many people that I didn't understand. So I suppose that was part of my confusion. Like, who are all of these people that I don't get, that weren't introduced or I don't know anything about? But if you know who they are, then I feel better.
I feel like the movie is written in a way where like, you don't need to know. Like, it's obvious, like they're superhero people. It doesn't matter.
It was distracting for me, all those people that I didn't know.
I was I'm about halfway between you and Rob and Andrew. Like, I knew some of them, but I wouldn't have known it's a different Green Lantern, right, than we've not seen before. I just thought, like, what an odd choice, because I've not seen Green Lantern have a haircut like that before, and that was something that was weird. I knew who Kat was. I knew the sports reporter guy. I knew Perry White. Like, there's a lot this movie asks you to just accept and understand, and it can be overwhelming if you're not a comic book person. And I think that's a bit of the turnoff if you're not a comic book person, but that also speaks to that it's a lot of comic book nerds who've been like, this is the movie that's finally embracing us.
I mean, I think, well, go ahead. I think that can be a plus or a minus, whether you're a comic book person or not. I think that's valid. I think for some people, it's hard to let it kind of wash over you and be like, okay, that guy's name's Green Lantern. That's Hawkgirl. That's Mr. Terrific. I don't know who they are, but I know who Superman is, and he's still the main character. So I think I understand what you're saying, Joan, of like that being kind of that taking out of it a little, but I think that it can also go the other way for people because you don't need to know who Guy Gardner is. He's
a superhero, but he's kind of a jerk, and him and Superman are on the same side, but they're not friends. And
Right.
like, it could have been anybody, right? That's just the story they're telling.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if it's the same thing for you, like when you see a Guardians of the Galaxy movie or you see Suicide Squad or like any of those kinds of things. Do you enjoy those movies? Like, are they more successful? Because those movies are also full of like obscure heroes nobody's thought about in 30 years, much like a Metamorpho.
Like
or,
Guardians built on those individual characters, like the core five, and then like there were other people around them. And I knew there were five. In this movie, there was Hall of Justice. There were extra people in the Daily Planet I didn't know. Lex had extra people I didn't know. Everybody had extra people. There was just too many people.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a deficit. I think it also depends on where you're coming from, right? 20 years ago, me probably wouldn't have thought as heavily about it, but
yeah, there's a
almost
different
50-year-old me knows that like this is something, and there's a joke behind the Justice Gang or the Justice Group. I know that a little bit, and I'm like, are they going to Justice League? Because this is where my brain goes while the movie's going on, right? So I think it's also just where we're at in terms of like timeline of our lives that I know that there's more, and it distracts me from what the movie's trying to tell me, which is Guardians of the Galaxy came out 15 years ago, right? Like, I don't know that I had that many questions, but the characters that I'm supposed to know, it made sure I knew. And I was thinking even this, like, I think it's really hard for anyone in our country, at least, to walk into this movie and not know at least Superman, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, at minimum, because it makes you just accept who they all are without that background, which can be very dangerous for someone who knows nothing. Now, that person is like probably 0.0000001% of the people who are watching this. But it does that to the superheroes and all those other Easter egg people as well that I know are something else, and I'm missing that something else.
I think my counterpoint to that is that like you're not missing anything by having not. I have never read a Green Lantern comic book that's all about Guy Gardner, right? And I don't know like the ins and outs of his personality or what his deal is. I have a vague idea because he's shown up in other books that I've read. But if I had no idea who Guy Gardner was, and I walked into that movie, I feel like I would get everything I need to know from the film itself. Like what you said, that it's like Guy Gardner is a superhero, but he's kind of a jerk and he butts heads with Superman. Yeah. Like that's all in the text of the film itself.
Exactly. He's a space cop who isn't super thrilled about being assigned Earth.
Yeah, I can get that through watching the movie itself.
I didn't get that.
No?
I did.
No.
It was like one line. It was like a tweet.
Yeah. No, I mean,
like
that's
a background.
Nope, I missed it. I only got who he was because it's Nathan Fillion who played Captain Hammer, and it was such a like character that's what it made me think of. But my experience is not the experience, right? It's just my experience. And what I will say is I'm going to disagree with you some more, Andrew, because you two opened up talking about how much you loved this movie, and the depth of your love is matching the depth of your knowledge. I think there's a real barometer here that we're kind of showing. You two are like deep in it. I love this, no questions, but you knew who all those people were and could go right along, whether or not you've read a Guy Gardner comic or not. I'm halfway. I liked the movie. I was entertained. I'll watch it again. I don't know if I'll buy it, but I'll definitely stream it and watch it again when it's coming along. And eventually when the sequel comes out, I'll go watch it again before watching the sequel. And my knowledge is at 50% or less of what you two know. And then we go to Joan, who's like, I was bored, because she knows the bare minimum of these characters. So there is something to be said about how this tone and how this was written for the comic book fans.
Yes, and is there something about you and Joan's demographic that is going to be different than other demographics who are going to see those things and immediately want to go to their comic book store and learn more about these characters? Because I think that's a choice as well. They want that synergy, like give them just enough to ask the questions and rush right out to their comic book store and get more information on who's Hot Girl and who's Guy Gardner and what is a Metamorpho, and what was that White Martian all about? Can I learn more about that? And yes, you can. We have a gigantic library of DC properties. We would love to sell you also.
It didn't do it for me, but I don't want to speak for Joan.
It didn't do it for me. I had a ton of questions about the movie itself specifically.
But I wonder if it does for people like ages 13 to 30.
Yeah.
You know
I think we're outside of that demographic. You make a very good point, right? People more around Andrew's age who has not read 5,000 comics by the time they're 16 years old might say, like, I want to learn more about that guy with the green ring. Who is that? And go to their Hoopla and download some comics. For sure. We're outside of that demographic. And same thing about crypto. I imagine we're going to get a whole bunch of stuff about crypto because ultimately they put just enough of the family-ish movie stuff into this movie to make little kids. Yeah.
And now my thing is, I predict that in superhero comics going forward, crypto will be drawn to be the same breed of dog as he was in the movie, as opposed to
follow the money always. Yes,
as opposed to like the big old white, like
he's a lab. He's a yellow lab. In the comics. He's always been a yellow lab, and now he's gonna be. You're gonna have it's gonna be a yellow lab in issue 65, and then when you go to issue 66, it's just gonna be this little fuzzy puppy.
To your point, Rob, I saved a post here. Oh, sorry, do you want to finish that thought?
I was gonna say, which apparently is modeled after James Gunn's dog.
Yeah, I saw that video as well. It's really cute.
Well, the fact that they make the joke at the end with Supergirl coming in and being like Gen Z party girl, it makes sense to have a little dog that you could carry on one arm, a smaller dog.
Yeah.
So for real recommendation based on that Supergirl scene at the end.
I already have the comic book from Hoopla that the movie's going to be based on.
Look at that.
And
she is the only character I want to know more about in that entire friggin' movie.
Okay, so you definitely want to what's it called?
Superman, Woman of Tomorrow?
Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It is true grit Supergirl. You're going to love it.
I'm into it. I love that actress. Nice. I love iterations of Supergirl I've seen in the past. She saved the movie for me.
Annalise has that book. I got it for her for a gift.
I do. I've read it.
It's super, super good.
It's really good. Yeah. And I want to say, I know we're doing kind of bits here, but to be completely transparent, I enjoyed this film. I don't know that I'd pay to go see it again in a theater, but I will see it again. I was entertained enough, but it wasn't it took me out of it a little bit with what it was asking me to do as someone who's not a big fan of the comics. It took me out of it a little bit. That's real honest. But I will say, to your point, what you just said, Rob, about like, there's a demographic out there that they showed just enough to get some kids involved. I saved this to read from our Instagram. There was a little kid today at the theater, maybe 6 or 7. He jumped up on his seat, pointing his arms in the air every time Superman did something heroic. He laughed and cheered for Krypto. He pretended to fly out of the theater with his arms forward. I thought, wow, this is what the movie experience is all about. He's completely untainted by the past and knows nothing of our adult gripes and opinions. That kid will grow up to be hooked on Superman long after we're gone, and that's something to celebrate for this character. That's what this movie does.
Beautiful.
It's brought back it's not for me. I can go and be entertained, and I will support the movie industry when they make a good movie. This is a good movie. It's not my favorite film. It's not one that I'm going to like I said, I'm not going to buy it and keep it forever and talk about how everyone should run out and see it right now. But it does exactly this. It's the superhero we need right now at this time, written in such a spectacular way to bring hope in a world that doesn't have a lot of hope right now. It is perfectly timed.
I think that is a perfect place to end our conversation. And that was our last question: was skip it, borrow it, wait for streaming, rush right out into theater frenzy? You say,
I think you should go to the theater. I think this is a film to experience with others.
I think that's an amazing point, Annalise. I think it is a film to watch with someone. And also, I think that's my symbol of hope Superman thought. My other thought is, I saw the movie 2 days ago, and in the 2 days since, I have gotten maybe 10 Instagram videos about Superman, and some people are really nice and they cover the text with a big blue box that says spoilers for Superman before the video continues, and other people don't.
Yeah.
So see it fast, because everyone's talking about it and you're gonna get spoiled.
Joan, what do you think?
See it in a theater. I think I would have lost my train of thought at home and turned it off or walked away. So at least the theater kept me watching.
And eating your chorizo ranchero.
Right.
Huevos.
I am also a rush right out and go see this in the theater. It's just gonna continue to be like a really cool thing that everybody's doing. Be part of that zeitgeist. Like, it's not bad. It's good. You're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be fun. I almost went and saw it again this morning before our conversation because I like it so much and I, wanted to have more things to talk about. But we've been talking for a long time. It's a great movie. Everybody was at least entertained by it. I think it was, I hope it's very influential. I think a movie like this can influence the genre for the better going forward. So
I think so.
How about I'll give you a comparison. Episode 1, Star Wars.
mm-hmm.
People our age are hot and cold about it. Most people hate it. They couldn't stand Jar Jar Binks. That film has a special place in my heart because I went to watched it on opening weekend with people all dressed up and crazy. And I remember a very specific moment early in that film. Anakin Skywalker meet
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Thank you. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And the crowd went nuts. Opening lines, crowd went nuts. So I attribute that experience with that film. For me, I wouldn't take back that experience. This Superman is one to go see and experience with others to hear how people react. It's one of those go to the movies. And I really hope that Fantastic Four that comes out this weekend does the same thing. I hope it does the
Superman.
same thing. No, it's not. But I'm hoping it'll be.
But it's not going to be Superman. But I think you're exactly right. The thing you read, right? Being at the movie theater and seeing that little kid, Superman, fly out of the theater, like that's a great experience. There's going to be those big, like you go to the big city and like people are going to be dressed up and excited.
Yes.
I was in class all night on Friday and, one of the people on the Zoom screen was there like in his blue shirt and his Superman hat, like, cause he was going to the movies as soon as class got out.
Right after class. Yeah. That's cool.
Like, I think that's it. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Go surf it.
Yeah.
Dr. Intern Joan, what's the nerdiest thing you did this week?
All right. Well, I have my hobby room now. I took it one step further and made me a hobby cart. I went to Michael's and got me a little 12-drawer thing. I got all my markers and pens in one and my crosswords in another. And I can just roll it wherever in the house I want to do activities.
Look at
That's
you.
amazing.
It's
one with drawers?
Yep.
Is it like a tool bench? Or
it's an art one. They're like plastic drawers. I'm sad they're plastic, but it's like I got it at Michael's. Put it together wrong the first time. So the drawers were wonky, but I had to take it apart. But yeah, I can just roll around.
Do you have labels on the drawers?
I was going to say, how is it organized?
Not yet. I actually have empty drawers, which I'm really, really shocked about. Wow. But I just got it yesterday, so give me a break. But if I want to send a little card, I just open the stationery drawer and pull out a postcard and stamps and a label, and I'm ready to go. Can pull it next to my coffee chair or into the bedroom and do my correspondence from bed. That's what I did.
Organization is great. I'm jealous.
Thank you.
And you have empty drawers. You know what that means?
More activities.
More
stuff
activities.
and activities.
Bye.
Got my iPad on top so I can watch my shows while I do my things. Like
look at that.
Set up. All right.
You hold the iPad on the top? It's just getting better and better.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
What's the nerdiest thing you did this week?
Something out of the ordinary that we did this week was Andrew was going to run a game of Crash Pandas. Crash Pandas is a one-page RPG where characters play street racing raccoons. And so
it is a party of people, and you play a group of like 5 raccoons who are all driving one car
in street race culture and tropes
in Los Angeles, in the biggest street race of the century.
And so it's very much like a Honey Heist thing where it's all on one page and you just like roll, you have a couple stats and then hilarity ensues. And so Andrew was telling me this and I'm like, oh, like what's the context you have for street racing? Have you ever seen a Fast and the Furious movie? He's like, no. Well, let's find out where they're streaming. We started looking at lists of like ranking which ones are like the best and what order you should watch them in and all that kind of stuff. And I queued them up on the TV and we were talking about, it was just a funny thing to like be like, oh, we're going to play this role-playing game. It's super ridiculously goofy, but also let's see if we can like cram in all the tropes that we need to know to make this just the most wild experience. And then the game got canceled. So still pending. It's more time to watch Fast and Furious movies.
Morning of.
I was going to say, how much of the Fast and Furious did you watch?
Annalise. What's the nerdiest
Well,
thing?
I was asking how many of the Fast and Furious side did you watch?
I don't know. Did you get to any? I think he didn't because the game got canceled.
Okay.
He was going to spend
so you're
I
like,
was going to put it up on the TV while I got like the kitchen ready and stuff.
While
and
you're
then have it, and I was
preparing,
like,
okay.
hey, if it gets rescheduled, we saw, it was a funny conversation because we were in the car and I was looking on my phone and I was like, because we were like, okay,
Oh, right.
we don't want to watch all like 10 Fast and the Furious movies. Let's look up like what the best ones were. And so I found this thing on like Reddit or something. Fast and Furious movies ranked in order. We was a conversation with that and I was like, okay, 5 is number 1. And then 7 is 2, and then 1 is 3. And then Tokyo Drift is 5. Why is Tokyo Drift so low?
But it was like
because
a
it's
who's on
Tokyo
first
Drift.
situation because I didn't realize he was saying the order. So he's like, Tokyo Drift is 5. And I'm like, no, I think Tokyo Drift was the third one. And he's like, no, it's number 5 on the list. I'm like, no, because that one is called Fast 5. It has 5 in the title.
I'm like,
so
no.
you know it's number 5.
I'm like, no, Fast 5 is number 1.
So it was
first?
Who's on
yeah,
first?
exactly.
Yeah.
It was a who's on first conversation all the way to.
So good.
Sorry
Trash
about that.
can.
Annalise, what's the nerdiest thing you did this week?
Hey, this last week I was in Sacramento for a conference and we were put up downtown Sacramento. Robbie, you and I have both been to this place. I've talked about it before on the podcast. I made sure that after conference one evening, I walked around the corner to the Coin Op game room, which is quite an amazing barcade there in Sacramento. And I had a good time. I brought my stacks of quarters that I keep here. I actually do keep stacks of quarters here in case I travel and go to barcades.
Break glass in case of arcade.
Yes. So I played a bunch of games. They had a Dungeons and Dragons pinball machine I'd never seen before.
Yeah, that looked really cool.
You choose a character and you go on quests and you have to like hit different targets to damage it's really good telling
That's
a
awesome.
story.
I
and
can't
stuff.
wait. I hope I get
It
to
was
play.
really cool. So I played that a bunch and, a bunch of the old games and had myself a good time and then walked back to my hotel before dark. So just a shout out to the Coin Op game room. They always provide a real good time. If you're around downtown Sacramento, right by the Capitol building, go check them out.
Was somebody bogarting the Batmobile game when you went?
There wasn't a Batmobile game anymore when I went.
That dude from the conference I went to probably broke it.
Probably did. Yeah. No, they had Mario Kart where the Batmobile game was.
Oh, how about that?
But a row of like Mario Kart
We got Mario Kart in arcades now, bro.
stations. Yes.
I know. I played a
Arcade
Mario Kart with like the gigantic screen the size of a wall at a Dave and
Yeah.
Buster's.
I went to a Dave & Buster's and played Mario. Where were you at a Dave & Buster's? Were you at a Dave & Buster's in Sacramento, California?
No, I don't remember where that was. I was with Annalise because I like beat the pants off of her niece at Mario Kart.
Oh, that was the Bay Area, San Francisco, Daly City. Yeah. That's right. All right. Andrew, America's favorite teen nerd. What's the nerdiest thing you did this week?
I feel like I'm gonna get my head put in a toilet bowl for this one. I feel like I'm gonna get swirly. So I do theater. I don't know if you could tell
What?
from listening to my voice for an hour. I am currently in a community theater production of Shakespeare's play Love's Labour's Lost in the style of a 2002 rom-com.
Boy,
I could end my story here,
that's it. Yep, you're done.
but further than that, I had a long conversation with one of the directors about the relationship in the play between Barone and Rosaline and how, as two very intelligent characters who find love and romance with each other in the kind of combative nature of their conversations, and how you can tie that to a lot of the romantic relationships in the noir film style genre with the clever detective and the witty
Femme fatale.
the femme fatale.
or the His Girl Friday.
Or yes, and like that kind of conversation there, and watching clips from the film Double Indemnity and talking about all of that. And of course, film noir has so much rooted in German expressionism, the use of shadows constantly everywhere, and how that is also another interesting facet to play with. And I was there for like an hour, just going back and forth on that. You know what? And I played Dungeons and Dragons the same weekend, but everyone plays D&D now. Vin Diesel plays D&D. Like, it's not niche anymore. I'm here with the real in-depth niche nerd topics. Hit me up. Listeners, write in on Nerd Mail. Who is your favorite lord in Shakespeare's Love Labour's Lost? Barone, Dumaine, or Longfellow? Hit us up.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Is this interpretation changing from the Shakespearean text, or are you still speaking in iambic pentameter?
Still speaking in iambic pentameter. All of the
Nice.
language is the same. I think we're trying to stay pretty close to, in terms of like pronunciation and stuff.
Mhm.
It's like what pronunciation most closely is matching to the meter and things like that. Because if you're going to do Shakespeare, I think especially if you're going to do like a take on Shakespeare like this, or, you know, in the West End right now, I know they're doing Romeo and Juliet as a Western and things like that. I feel like you have to really make sure you're sticking to the text. Otherwise, it's not as fun.
That's definitely a thing, is like you're Shakespeare and you do the play completely straight, but based on the backdrops and the costumes you put on, it takes a different kind of context. Like the Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet movie where they had guns and cars. That's
Yeah,
a
but
very-
also things based off of like 10 Things I Hate About You, Taming of the
Right.
Shrew, right? That's a
Yeah, exactly. 10
successful
Things-
adaptation.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, now.
Right. That's what I was asking Andrew. Like, is it adaptation or
So yes, it is.
Right.
That's actually a great example, because 10 Things I Hate About You is a Cousins rom-com. Actually, that's not too
Right.
bad. Was
yeah,
that?
yeah, early, like 2001. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Which is based off of Shakespeare's work, but is not
Yeah.
a Shakespeare play. This is
Right.
the Shakespeare play.
This is the play. Yeah, yeah.
Love's Labor is Lost. It's actually a really interesting play because it's one of Shakespeare's earlier works, and you see a lot of motifs and ideas that he does with a lot of success later. He's really throwing stuff at the wall here, like mistaken identities and letters sent to the wrong people and a play within a play and all of this other stuff that he uses in his more famous work. Since this is some of his earlier stuff, he's trying out all of these ideas and then kind of writing down, okay, this works, this kind of works, let me do it a little better. The whole mistaken letters thing is really a mess, and I'm glad he got better about things like that and those kinds of convoluted plots.
He
as it
worked
went
out the
on.
kinks in his
He worked
earlier
out the
plays.
kinks a lot on that.
Andrew and Joan, thank you so much for joining us for this episode and sharing your nerdy things and sharing the time. And it's been a long time since I've seen a film in the opening weekend, and it was a really cool experience, even though we experienced it in different places. I'm happy to experience that with you all nerds.
Going to the theater on opening weekend is fun. Just to really just tank my reputation, me and the rest of my high school's cast of Mamma Mia all went to see the Minecraft movie on opening weekend, and it was a great time. The very specific vibe of seeing a movie on opening weekend is good.
I
It is
think
a vibe.
you are right in the middle of like when
Chicken
that is
jockey.
the coolest thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like high school, college students, like go see a movie on opening weekend with all your friends. Like you're smack dab in the middle of it.
If they
And
keep
I'm-
making good ones like this, I will keep going on opening weekend. Next episode, it's finally time. It's finally here. After talking about it for a season and a half, it's the Great Goblin Argle Bargle.
Has it been a season and a half? Has it been like
It
over
feels
a
like it's been
year?
a really long time since you got that PDF download and been talking about it.
I love it. I guess it has been because that book, that magazine where it was printed comes out once a year, and this year's already came out. So I guess it has been a while. Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm looking forward to it, and nothing's going to go wrong, and everybody's going to know how to play the game, and we're going to have a great time.
And we'll
nobody's-
hit record this time.
We're going to actually hit record when we talk about it. Nobody's going to get sick. It's going to be awesome.
So next week, while it is San Diego Comic-Con next week, we're going to replay and we're going to have some nerdsalgia over our episode Cosplay in LA, where we talked with Allison, who won cosplay in LA Comic-Con back in 2022.
I
think.
love that episode. That was great.
So that's next week. And then the week after that, we will bring to you the Great Argle Bargle, the Great Goblin Argle Bargle. Lots of pictures and stuff to be had on our social media. So make sure you're following us there.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Nerd Best Friends. Thanks for nerding out with us. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to follow the show, leave a review, and share it with your fellow nerds, because let's be real, everything's better when it's shared with your party. Do you have a nerdy topic you want us to cover? A hot take? A weird fandom theory? Hit us up on our socials or send us a message. We love hearing from the nerd herd. And until next time, remember, you can be a nerd about anything, and everyone's a nerd about something.
Stay nerdy, friends.
Stay nerdy. Thanks a lot. Thanks for hanging out. Dab.
Stop.
For the Instagram.
I don't know who to start with. What do you think, Rob? We have two guests with us today.
On the dot.
Let's go with the order on the dock. We'll be in a guest sandwich.
Look at that.
Wait, hold on. I could say something really smart here. Wait, give me a second.